Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? As we inch closer to the NFL draft, and with this first and second wave of free agency now come and gone, a lot of things have settled a bit. Our friends over at DraftKings have updated their projected win totals for the 2023 NFL season. And I'm not going to bury the lead. I'll just dive right into it with Saints. They have the Saints projected to win 9.5 games, which is the best in the NFC South. That probably isn't a great surprise. We have talked about this ever since the Saints made the deal for Derek Carr earlier this month, where we knew that in bringing in Derek Carr, the Saints immediately had the best quarterback situation in the NFC South for 2023. And again, I'm going to say this again because there's way too much confusion over my take on this whole thing. Derek Carr, the player on the field in 2023, makes the Saints better than they were in 2022. And without even any room for debate, Derek Carr is the best quarterback, best starting quarterback in the NFC South for 2023, period. Not debatable. We talked about that. The problem I've had is in committing to Derek Carr, you have imposed a lower ceiling, higher floor, lower ceiling on your franchise. That's been my point. But in 2023, Carr gives you the best option to win a bad division, make it to the playoffs, and probably lose in the wild card round. Anyway, Saints at 9.5 wins. Panthers and Falcons at 7.5. And the Tampa Bay Bucks bringing up the rear at 6.5. Couple things. As we mentioned, New Orleans obviously going to be favored to win the division. And considering you're playing a last place schedule, you would anticipate that being the case, that you're going to get a favorable schedule, more favorable schedule. You're in a bad division, and you have the best quarterback situation by far. If anything, it's maybe slightly concerning that you're not projected to be even better against the division that has Desmond Ridder as the starter in Atlanta, very likely a rookie starting quarterback in Carolina, or Andy Dalton. And then when you look at Tampa, Baker Mayfield, Kyle Trask, or fill in the blank. The fact that you're not a bigger favorite speaks to, I think, some of the deficiencies this Saints team has. And maybe the way that they could get themselves above 500 on this NFL season is because you're going to play 6 games against a division, which is going to be very bad. And that might be an opportunity to elevate yourself against a weak division. But the last 2 years, the Saints won 9 games 2 years ago, 7 games last year, and presumably you're going to be better at quarterback than you were either of those 2 seasons. So here's an opportunity to move forward. Earlier this week, we saw Atlanta announce that Desmond Ridder is going to be their starter. And in so doing, they essentially took themselves out of contention for drafting a quarterback, and also took themselves out of the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. I'll still be a bit skeptical on the draft part. I mean, you should wait and see how the draft plays out, and if there's an opportunity for them to take a player at that position, I'm not saying that they won't. So I'll put an asterisk next to Desmond Ridder starting in Atlanta for now. As far as Carolina, I think we all assume that whoever they take number 1 overall is going to be their day 1 starter. And Tampa, of course, becomes somewhat interesting. Tampa has Baker. We know they signed, and they drafted Kyle Trask a few years ago, and those 2 guys presumably will go battle it out. But Todd Bowles at the NFL owners meetings earlier this week, while he talked about those 2 guys, he also talked about just the quarterback position in general in Tampa and replacing Tom Brady and what that's going to look like this year.
I think when you lose the greatest quarterback of all time, everybody just assumes you're going to be bad. At least that's the narrative. But it takes a team to win a Super Bowl, and it also takes a team to play ball games. And Tom is great by all accolades. He gets everything he deserves, and he should. But to bring in guys that can still challenge and win, you just have to kind of prepare differently as far as what you're trying to do, as opposed to just say, Tom brought a presence with him that you kind of saw. Everybody else has got to earn their stripes, and we're good with that.
He also mentioned that, talking about Baker Mayfield, Kyle Trask, and anyone else they might bring in. So Todd Bowles didn't close the door on the possibility of bringing in another quarterback somewhere along the way. The problem that I have with what Todd Bowles said there is, when he essentially said, you lose Tom Brady, who's the greatest ever, people automatically assume you're going to be bad. Todd, you were bad last year. You were 8-9. You were sub 500. You won a bad division, but you won it with a losing record. You were a bad team a year ago, and now that was with Tom Brady. Now you're going to take out Tom Brady and replace him with Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield or fill in the blank, and you expect to be better than you were a year ago? Yes, you can run through a lot of the players that are there, from Mike Evans or Ryan Jensen or Chris Godwin. And yes, there are some talented players, but every team in the league has talented players on it, but that doesn't mean you have a roster that's able to compete. And I don't see it in Tampa. For whatever it's worth, Bowles gave his opinion on each of the quarterbacks that are there. First, here's what he had to say about Baker.
Everything he stood for, as far as leading the team on offense, he had moxie. He had natural leadership skills. It's not overblown. Guys naturally gravitate towards him. He has an excitement he brings toward the game. And he's hungry. And I can live with that. I can live with that right there. And that I liked him a couple years ago, and that we got him now with an opportunity to have a chance to start, I think it's a good thing for us.
And he's also been discarded by 3 teams in a calendar year. Here was Todd Bowles on Kyle Trask.
Just his knowledge of the game. I think Kyle has a lot of moxie that you don't get to see. Those of us who see him every day, Kyle does more work on the side away from the cameras. Every time I look up and come in the office, he's out there working by himself trying to get better. And I think that's number one for a quarterback to have, is inner drive. His inner drive is there. He can read defenses. He can process very quickly, and he can run an offense. It was just when you have a guy like Tom Brady, a guy like that doesn't get many reps, so it's hard to do. So I look forward to him to come out this year and really shows what he can do.
He's Brock Osweiler, sitting behind Peyton Manning in Denver. He's a bad quarterback, sitting behind a great quarterback who didn't get any better because he never got opportunities to play and won't ever be a great quarterback in the NFL. Tampa's going to be very bad this year. Very, very bad. Their projected win total 6.5. I would actually take the under on Tampa. If they do go into the season with Baker and Kyle Trask as their 2 quarterbacks, I do expect they'll be worse than that 6 win total, and we'll be vying for the first overall pick in the draft next year at this time. Saints win total projected 9.5. Got some work to do still. You got to go shore up your defensive line. Lost Kentavious Street today as well. If you missed that news, Adam Schefter reported it. So it's a 3rd interior defensive lineman, 4th defensive lineman in total that they've lost here in this free agent cycle. So Saints still got to rebuild that defensive line. Got to stay healthy. You still need to add another player at receiver. Would help to add a tight end. You're going to have to get younger at running back. They have work to do on this roster still. But I don't think there's anything you've seen that would lead you to believe that Saints wouldn't be the prohibitive favorite to win the division in 2023. That is, unless Carolina just hits a home run with presumably either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.